So this is the 2022 20 hours GMT edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel, being broadcast only on the internet on Monday, 7th of August 2023. This edition is going to refer a lot to the media. Of course, every single edition is about the media, but the extent to which we examine the role of the media, option in, by, and through the media varies from date to date and edition to edition. The theme remains the same. This is the Baby Angel Geronimo edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on Monday, the 7th of August 2023. Now, one of the items that must be examined at length, or at least in principle, to make the point, depending on whatever length we manage to do that at, is the role of the big news outlets, the media outlets that actually control the dissemination of news worldwide and the subscription by the various locally based outlets, subscription to these big ones. One is the French one, AFP, Agency French Press or France Press, and the other one is, of course, Reuters. And in the USA, it's the Associated Press. Sounds innocent enough, but it's a very big one. And compared to them, the Russian ones don't really compete to the extent that these three actually operate their power. But together, the Chinese and the Russian ones constitute, let's say, the fourth part. Now we start with the coverage of the events concerning the kidnapping of Imran Khan by the military regime that has taken control of the already fragile judiciary in the state of Pakistan. We say that Imran Khan has been kidnapped, regardless of the fact that there is a kind of similarity between our observation and what Imran Khan had said before. We didn't notice that to the extent that it is now noticeable, the actual behavior in kidnapping Imran Khan. Number one. Number two is that the Reuters news agency, which has got the copy, let's check that one. Imran Khan, this is the one about the preparation for so-called appeal. This is the time. This one is posted at So this is the one that you see. This is what I meant by the locally based outlets using the big ones, and by the big ones, this is the one I mean. Typical example. This is the one that is headed. It's a Reuters outlet. Pakistan's Imran Khan held in small, dirty prison cell, says lawyer. And it says Asif Shahzad. Shahzad is, of course, a Pakistani name, very much an Arabic based, Persian based name. Could be a Pakistani, could be from any of the regions, any of the countries in the region. And the actual copy is edited by two white individuals, or anyway, who is so the actual copy is edited. So reporting by Asif Shahzad, editing by Robert Barcel and Alex Richardson. And this piece is absolutely stupid and it is stupefying. Of course, there is no suggestion at all that the Pakistan military has hijacked the state and it has got Imran Khan, it has kidnapped Imran Khan. And it doesn't use the quotation marks for describing the conviction and the trial. There has been no trial of Imran Khan. It has been a kidnapping. And this individual being mentioned here is Panjuta. Panjuta is supposed to be a lawyer who supposedly has spoken to reporters in Islamabad earlier. Now, who is Panjuta? I met Imran Khan who told me that they put me in a C class. Naeem Panjuta, the lawyer, referring to conditions in the jail where he said he spent just under 2 hours with Khan preparing paperwork for filing the appeal. The the starting sentence, well, the headline is, of course, Pakistan's Imran Khan held in small dirty prison cell, says lawyer, by Asif Shahzad. One 57 p.m. There is a file picture of Imran Khan by Reuters, credit to Akhtar Suru. Khan legal team to file appeal against conviction, lawyer now. There is absolutely no truth whatsoever in using the term conviction. There is no truth in using the term conviction without a big quotation mark around it. So when they say in the first paragraph, Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan is behind being held in a small, dirty prison cell, one of his lawyers said on Monday, after being given access to the former cricket star in jail as he prepares to appeal against his graft conviction. Now, that is an absolute criminal complicit lie by Reuters. There is no graft, there is no conviction, there has been no trial. It's all a kidnapping. Now, this line is being followed by the BBC, which probably constitutes the biggest one after those three big ones in terms of worldwide circulation. And in the case of the United Kingdom, the BBC is bigger in, than the Sky News and ITB, Sky News, Channel 4, Channel 5, all put together because of the reach. RESCH. Not reach the company that owns the mirror, etc. So they're saying in the second paragraph, Khan 70 has been at the heart of political turmoil since he was ousted as prime minister. Now that's a completely criminal confection lie. He has not been at the heart of political turmoil. Political turmoil has been foisted on the country by the thugs who kidnapped the state and kidnapped him. So we shall be talking about this, but the first and last and the foremost point about this coverage is the cover up. They're covering up the fact that Imran Khan has been hijacked and the state has been hijacked and Imran Khan has been kidnapped. And there has to be a very effective campaign for habeas corpus and release Imran Khan pending any proper trial by the ordinary system of courts that can be established in Pakistan. We shall be, of course, continuing on this. So, Naim Panjuta said he met Imran Khan, who told him that they put me in a class C class, referring to conditions in the jail where he said he spent just under 2 hours with Khan preparing paperwork for filing his appeal. And again, quoting this Panjuta, it's a small room which has got an open washroom where he said there were files in the daytime. Sorry, I'll read that again. It's a small room which has got an open washroom where he said there were flies in the daytime and insects in the night. Khan's legal team was also appealing to authorities to secure him better conditions in jail, Panjuta told reporters in Islamabad earlier. Political prisoners are entitled to better B class facilities, including access to television, newspapers, and books. The government spokesperson and the prison authorities did not respond to repeated requests for comment on the conditions in which Khan is being held now. This is again less truthful than it should be. This is the government, which is the kind of place stooge apparatus placed there by the military junta. And the existence of any power in the government of the country by the military international law. And the United Nations immediately is responsible for neglecting the abuse of the state military in Pakistan. The atrocities, the genocide, the massacre, the mass rapes, gang rapes, and violations of countless numbers of people in East Pakistan by the military in 1971, those remain still unexplained, unaccounted for. And the United Nations should be condemned and held to account for its failure so far about what the military did in 1971 in East Pakistan, which is now, of course, Bangladesh, following the 16th of December intervention by the then Indira Nehru fronted Indian government that actually defeated the Pakistan military. Now, this is a stupid paragraph. Khan's arrest was the latest in a series of blows that have weakened his political standing. That is the opposite of the truth. Because of Imran Khan's popularity, significant credible popularity, the criminals in the country who are in control of various aspects of the state cannot risk an election with him being free to contest the election. It hasn't weakened him, it shows their weakness. And because real, there is no real freedom, democratic freedom in the country because of the hijacking of the state by the military and their stooges, and because of the actual role played by the USA and the USA's allies, including the United Kingdom, in attacking Imran Khan because of Imran Khan's refusal to toe the line of the Washington DC and the line of the United Kingdom that follows the Washington DC line, because Imran Khan preferred to play neutral in relation to the relationship with the Soviet, Russia, former Soviet Union. And he explained that for very good reasons. India has the similar relationship with Russia. But in India is treated by the Americans with preference. So therefore, they haven't actually done anything to oust the Indian regime. They have ousted Imran Khan. So the ouster of Imran Khan and the freedom with which the military has kidnapped Imran Khan and has put him in a condemned cell, these are all connected with the USA. The USA doesn't doesn't like democracy in the world, democratic regimes in the world, as disclosed systematically by Philip A.G., a CIA operative who worked in Nicaragua. And when he left the CIA, he wrote the account, he published the account called Inside the Company. And in the account that Philip A.G. published, he showed that systematic, deliberate, brazen attempts by CIA operatives and agents were being done in the countries within quotation marks called the South American countries, where any sign of democracy, any sign of independent democracy was being crushed by the operatives and the operations of the CIA. And in the region in Iran in 1953, the democratic government, the democratic government in Iran and this is the quotation I am reading from the internet. So 1953 Iranian coup d'etat. While British intelligence backed away from this debacle, the CIA continued its covert operations in Iran, working with pro Shah forces and, most importantly, the Iranian military. The CIA cajoled, threatened, and bribed its way into influence and helped to organize another coup attempt against Mossadegh. And the item on the history.com website headed 1953 CIA assisted coup overthrows government of Iran. The Iranian military, with the support and financial assistance of the United States government, overthrows the government of Premier Mohammad Mossadegh and reinstates the Shah of Iran. Iran remained a solid Cold War ally of the United States until a revolution ended the Shah's rule in 1979. Mossadegh came to prominence in Iran in 1951 when he was appointed prime minister. A fierce nationalist, Mossadegh immediately began attacks on the British oil companies operating in his country, calling for expropriation and nationalization of the oil fields. His actions brought him into conflict with the pro Western elites of Iran and the Shah, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. Indeed, the Shah dismissed Mossadegh in mid 1952, but massive public riots condemning the action forced the Shah to reinstate Mossadegh a short time later. US officials watched events in Iran with growing suspicion. British intelligence sources, working with the American Central Intelligence Agency, came to the conclusion that Mossadegh had communist against leanings and would move Iran into the Soviet orbit if allowed to stay in power. Working with the Shah, the CIA and the British intelligence began to engineer a plot to overthrow Mossadegh. The Iranian premier, however, got wind of the plan and called his supporters to take to the streets in protest. At this point, the Shah left the country for medical reasons. Now they put that there, the medical reasons, within quotation marks. While British intelligence backed away from the debacle, the CIA continued its covert operations in Iran, working with pro Shah forces and, most importantly, the Iranian military. The CIA cajoled, threatened, and bribed its way into influence and helped to organize another coup attempt against Mossadegh. On the 19th of August 1953, the military, backed by street protests organized and financed by the CIA, overthrew Mossadegh. The Shah quickly returned to take power, and as thanks for the American help, signed over 40% of Iran's oil fields to American companies. As brazen as that. Mossadegh was arrested, served 3 years in prison, and died under house arrest in 1967. The Shah became one of America's most trusted Cold War allies, and US economic and military aid poured into Iran during the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. In 1978, however, anti Shah and anti American protests broke out in Iran, and the Shah was toppled from power in 1979. Militants seized the US embassy and held the American staff hostage until January 1981. Nationalism, not communism, proved to be the most serious threat to US power in Iran. So, what is happening in Pakistan is not very dissimilar. The point is that in the coverage of the events, the media is not in the slightest being truthful or contextual and is not referring to what happened in Iran or what happened in South America or what happened in the other parts of the world, especially what the relationship between the Saudis and the US company has been based on, and why Saddam Hussein was murdered, why Gaddafi was murdered. All of these are interconnected. You cannot understand the actual events in those countries without understanding the basic purpose of the still militarily biggest power on the planet, the USA. We shall be continuing to the coverage or cover ups as things happen or as days go by. Back to the United Kingdom itself, the report in The Guardian, let's say what the report is about, and we shall then expand. This is very important about the media. This is the piece. Before we go back to the BB Stockholm barge for so called migrants, there is an item that is very rare in the Guardian, which is about the role of the local council, Oldham Council. Oldham Council was referred to during the proceedings in a coroner's court today, that is Monday. And this is what we are going to explore. Oldham Council. So the Guardian piece online, which is timed at 1807 BST, which is 1707 Greenwich Mean Time. It's a piece by Mark Brown North of England correspondent. There's a picture captioned "The family of Luke Brooks leave Rochdale Coroner's Court on Monday, the 7th of August. From left, Luke Brooks' mother, Patricia, and then next to her, Luke Brooks' friend, Chris Haycock, and then in front is Luke Brooks' father, James. It's a photograph for the Press Association by Dave Higgins. And this first paragraph says that mother begged the council for help to move her family out of a privately rented house that was freezing and had chronic damp and mold, which she believes killed her son. An inquest has heard. The hearing resumed on Monday into the death of 27-year-old Luke Brooks from Oldham, who died in October 2022. The inquest in Rochdale has previously heard that Brooks died after developing an acute respiratory illness, which was provisionally linked to mold exposure. It is being conducted by senior coroner Joanne Kersley, who last year oversaw the inquest into the death of 2-year-old Awab Ishaq. She then concluded that mold in the social housing flat caused Awab's death and hoped it would be a defining moment for the housing sector. The inquest caused shockwaves, leading to resignations at the social housing provider and the government bringing in tougher legislation on mold. Patricia Brooks said they moved into the privately rented house in 2014 and had no heating or hot water for 3 years. She said she organized the installation of a new boiler in 2017, but the radiator didn't work properly, with only the top few inches getting hot. So there is a picture of the mold, the bathroom ceiling at the Brooks house, photographs supplied. The house was always freezing, she said, with it normally being warmer outside. It also had severe damp and mold problems caused by leaking pipes and rain coming through the roof and ceilings. Wearing a t shirt featuring a picture of her son, Patricia Brooks said she never realized mold could be harmful until she heard about Awab's case. I didn't know mold could kill people until I saw that little boy. She said she was hospitalized herself in 2019 with pneumonia. Her son was scared of doctors and hospitals, but had never really been sick before he developed the illness that led to his death. Brooks said Luke's illness began with sniffles, and she thought he had caught a virus or had a flu. He later developed a rash over his body. She said her son had never worked and spent most of his time playing video games in the upstairs room he shared with his friend Christopher Haycock. So the main heading that Patricia Brooks begged the council to move them is the center of the focus that we are paying on this one. What happens with the Guardian? As we have extensively covered over the last, let's say, 10 years or so, more than 10 years, not necessarily broadcast because we only started broadcasting in this format in 2020. So we've been mainly publishing tweets and blogs and other items online about Tower Hamlets Council. And the reason we are referring to Tower Hamlets Council is that we have published more about Tar hamlets as a local council than we have done about any other local council. And everything that a local council has been involved in terms of showing neglect and indifference and engaging in corruption, criminality, has been available in the behavior of the Tar hamlets Council. For example, when I spoke to Lutfur Rahman, incumbent at that time, on that date, incumbent as the then just newly elected executive mayor, on the 29th of October 2010, which was the first time he had been elected, I didn't give a list of items that I needed to discuss with him, but I would have discussed with him the systematic lying, the systematic criminality, the systematic illegality, the systematic corruption that dominated Tar hamlets Council's decision making. Now, none of these things would ever have been published anywhere else, most certainly not in the Guardian. Well, the Guardian, for many years, especially during the period when Alan Rabisha was editor in chief and editor of the Guardian, treated the local councils in England as a significant source of money through advertising, council vacancies, etc., etc. So, for that link, the Guardian would not be expected to publish any truth about the council's negligence, councils with plural, council negligence, criminality, corruption, lack of accountability, and so on. So, if you multiply, say, the number of councils, how many, I'll come to that in a minute, because it is easy to access the number of councils in England and then we can calculate. In total, there are 317 local authorities in England, made up of 5 different types: county council, district councils. Okay, so this is the structure. The structure of local government varies from area to area. In most of England, there are two tiers: county and district, with responsibility for council services split between them. London, other metropolitan areas, and parts of Shire, England, operate under a single tier structure, with councils responsible for all services in their area. In total, there are 317 local authorities in England, made up of 5 different types: county councils, district councils, unitary authorities, metropolitan districts, and London boroughs. So there are the two-tier ones: county council, there are 21; district council, 164; single tier, that is unitary authority, 62; metropolitan districts, 36; London boroughs, 32; City of London, 1; Isle of Scilly or Scilly, 1. So altogether 317, they give the total. Some Shire district councils, including unitary authorities, and all metropolitan district councils have the status of either a borough or a city, and are referred to as borough or city councils. Now, if we multiply, let's say, the number of councils, 317, by the number of decisions they make, the decisions number individually would be millions, millions of decisions. So, the most damaging, harmful decisions that a council can make can affect health, housing, neighborhood safety, etc., etc. But if you look at the Guardian, say, not only during Alan Rabishar's period, but in the period since Rabishar was replaced by Catherine Vanity, or going back to Peter Preston, who was in post before Alan Rabishar, you cannot find one single issue, one single case, one single scandal in the Guardian that concerns the behavior of one single council, whether of whatever tier, Metropolitan, Borough, or London Borough Council. Why is that? And the answer is that the Guardian depended very much on the relationship that it had with local councils, the majority of them being non conservative but not exclusively, the overwhelming majority being Labour controlled. So the Guardian financially depended on the income it received from local councils via advertisements and so on. So this influenced the Guardian in making the choice to suppress information concerning damaging behavior, harmful behavior perpetrated by each and every guilty council. When the Guardian didn't publish letters, didn't publish special investigations, didn't publish any reports about the council, and it still doesn't. This item, therefore, is rare. This item about the Oldham Council is very rare. And it's not a direct report from the Guardian, it is a report based on the coroner's court hearing proceedings. So, if we take into account the number of decisions that the councils make, millions of decisions, then a significant number of the illnesses caused by bad housing and other poverty related issues caused directly by the council's behavior, we can account. We can see about 30 to 40% of the illnesses that people suffer can be attributed, traced to the behavior of the councils in refusing, just as they did in the case of Patricia Brooks, refusing to treat seriously the concerns about the health and welfare of families like that. And as she admits, Patricia Brooks herself didn't know about the extent of the dangerous impact the mold would have on the health and welfare of herself and her child who died, Brooks, until she read about the boy that died as a result of mold in another case. So there is this ignorance about the serious impact of bad health being created, bad health being tolerated, bad health being perpetrated by local councils and covered up by the one UK-wide newspaper that boasts of being non-right-wing, non-conservative, which is the Guardian. So if there is no outlet, news outlet, UK-wide, that is prepared to tell the truth about the serious health risks people are put in by local councils' behavior, then those behavior will continue and the people will continue to be ill and continue to die. Okay? So this is why when I spoke to Luthraman on Friday the 29th of October 2010 outside the Brick Lane, London E1, United Kingdom, mosque in East London, after the Jummah, the Friday prayer, I would have told him about what he should be doing, about the serious risks to health and welfare caused by council decision making that was corrupt, that was negligent, that was prejudiced, that was biased, that was plainly wrong. Now, that was 2010, October 2010. And this is now August, 7th of August 2023. So it's 13 calendar years, 14 calendar years since Lutfur Rahman promised that he would sit down with me and listen to me about what he should be doing. And he hasn't sat down with me about what he should be doing. He has sat down with me on two separate occasions, three separate occasions since the 29th of October 2010. But he has sat down to lie about other aspects of the contracts, and I'll come to that in a minute. So, what happened with the promise that Lutheraman made on Friday, the 29th of October 2010, that he would sit down with me to take into account all the urgent measures, steps, action that he should take as the just elected incumbent in the post of executive mayor in the name of the London Borough of Tower Hamlets Council. The answer is that Lutfur Rahman never sat down. He did sit down with me significantly on 3 other occasions, but those 3 other occasions were about different topics, not about the full list, but even though there were different topics, they were about the same council. And they were about the role as the incumbent in the post of executive mayor that he should have played. One of the occasions was 20th of September 2012. In the basement of a cafe or eating place in New Road, London E1, which is no longer there. And to my eyes, present at the meeting, at the event, was an individual called Zubair, Muhammad Zubair. In addition to Zubair, there was Ali Bor Chaudhry. And of course, there was Lutfur Rahman. People who don't know about the custom back in Silot need to know that it is part of the custom. All right? It's part of the custom to insist. The custom, on the part of the custom for the host to insist, really insist, on the guest eating a meal. It is absolutely nothing else. So if you refuse to eat, despite the persistent insistence, it comes across as being not of the acceptable kind of custom. So I actually accepted a meal simply for that reason. I did make the point clear that I didn't want to eat, but I could only say no to so many times. Now, my culture, my practice so far has been that I avoid community events, gatherings where food is the main or one of the main attractions, like weddings or other kind of events that are marking whatever other things, but food is included, and I avoid those. And the second point that people who know me know is that when food is offered as part of the attendance at an event, I want to know who paid for the food. And thirdly, for example, in June 2013, the Ramadan, where Lutfur Rahman organized a iftari at the Marland Road. And I bought my iftari from a shop. And I ate my meal outside instead of going in there. So make it a particular point to say no to food that is not fully accounted for. And if somebody pays for it, then I want to know the legitimacy of that source. In any case, I'm the one person in the community of the circulation that I have, the prominence that I have, who does that. Nobody else is known to do that. I have done this in the UK, I've done this before I came to the UK. I am very particular about food. So, any criminal who, because of their own ignorance, and I'd say here hereditary stupidity, thinks that I accept an invitation for eating a meal because I either don't have the money to buy my food or am trying to get a meal from somewhere else for free. That is a criminal offense to even remotely suggest that about me. I have the record opposite to that. And I cannot make this insistence strongly enough. So, three of the occasions that Luthvaraman met me, the first one was the 20th of September 2012 in the basement of a hotel or eating place in New Road, not far from where my home has been for a very long time. That eating place or eatery is no longer there. So when I arrived there to discuss Luthvaraman's overdue decision to resolve the criminality perpetrated by a racist criminal called Colin Cormac. Colin, the racist criminal Cormac, had been involved in the case since at least 1996. And here we are talking about 2012. So you go back to 1996 and it becomes 16 years. So Colin Cormac had been festering, making worse the decision and the losses that he had caused already were being aggravated each by the day. So the severity and the seriousness of that being an urgent matter, resolving, crying out for immediate resolution, could not be emphasized strongly enough. So when I told Luthvaraman, I did that according to the law, according to the constitution, according to the evidence. Nothing that I said to him on the 20th of September 2012 was made up, could be challenged on the evidence, on the law, and he did not challenge, he did not question the integrity, and he did not look for any excuse not to do what had been overdue for 16 years. Now, this is now 11 years since then. 11 years since 2012. So 11 plus 16, how long is it? 27 years. The problems that the liar, racist liar, criminal Colin Cormack aggravated in 1996 has got further aggravated over the last 27 years. And instead of listening to me, giving him highest standard of legal advice, the liar Lutfur Rahman did not carry out what he should have done. At the beginning of that encounter or meeting, which lasted less than 2 hours, the liar Lutfur Rahman gave a string of quote praises for me. He said, amongst other things, to begin with, addressed me in the Siloti language. He said to me, you, that is me, should have been the MP. You, that is me, should have been the mayor, not him. Now, the meeting was not about me being an MP or not being an MP, or a mayor or not being a mayor. The meeting was about a basic practical problem that had been created by a number of decision makers who should not have created that problem. Now, the reason I'm saying all of this relates back to the Guardian. The Guardian would never publish this, has not published this. Now, this issue concerns the council's allocation, allocation of housing. Go back to the Guardian of Monday, the Guardian Online on Monday, the 7th of August, and its online report about the coroner's report, coroner's court proceedings that refers to Oldham Council. And what did she say? In that report, the mother of the son who died of council created health condition, molding, said that she had begged Oldham Council to move them, and the Oldham Council had failed or refused or ignored. And my question was, would the Guardian have published the same story if Patricia Brooks, the mother, Patricia Brooks, the mother, had begged them to publish the details of her experience with the Oldham Council? And my question answer is answered by saying that no. Because the Guardian has not got a track record of publishing what generally is called damning reports about behavior by local councils. and the Guardian's policy hasn't changed. And what I am talking about in relation to the liar Luthuraman in Tower Hamlets is similar. Luthuraman was complicit. He was complicit during the fact, after the fact, and in covering up the previous parts of the fact. Because when the involvement of Colin Cormack began in 1996, Luthuraman was not a councillor. And so, therefore, he could not have been in any position to affect any decision. The person who got Colin Cormack involved was the then Chief Executive Sylvie Pierce. Now, Sylvie Pierce was highly publicized as the first woman or one of the first women chief executives of a local council in England. And I think that her instruction to Colin Cormack, I would say, was initially innocent. Given the previous history of Tower Hamlets Council's criminal decision making, I think she thought that Colin Cormack, being the individual employee in charge of dealing with housing issues, would be most suitable to resolve this one. And this one was also, I am sure, influenced by the chief executive's chief or head personal aide or administrator, Carol Marchant. To talk about Carol Marchant in later parts or in another part of this essay length issue, because I believe that Luthuraman criminally conspired with Cormack and other criminals in encouraging or sacking Carol Marchant in 2011. And the reason why Carol Marchant was sacked was because of the criminal Kevin Collins and Luthuraman and Colin Cormack conspiring and coming to the conclusion that it was Carol Marchant, of all the employees in the chief executives and the mayor's domains at that time, he was the only one, she was the only one that was telling the truth to me and telling them the truth about me. And they decided to interrupt, to disrupt that channel of truth telling communication. So the disguise was created that Carol Marchant would be retiring. Now, I had known Carol Marchant because of the contacts I had had with the office of the chief executive of the council for quite a number of years. And I believe that she had enough respect and recognition for me. And I had enough confidence in her honesty. So that if she were to retire, she would have told me. She would have at least told me months ago or months before the retirement was due, but she never did speak one single sentence to me. So when I came to know that she had left the council, I knew that something very wrong had happened. And I believe that Luthuraman was part of the conspiracy to have Carol Marchant take early retirement. Because by doing that, they thought they would interrupt and disrupt the communications that existed between me and the lying behavior by the various employees of the council. Now that's Carol Marchant. We shall return to Carol Marchant's departure in due course again, any number of times that is necessary, made necessary by the actual evidential context. The opposite role played to Carol Marchant is, of course, the racist criminal Steve Hill. The criminal liar Steve Hill, employed as the benefits manager in Tower Hamlets Council for too long, conspired with the criminal racist liar at Tower Hamlets Community Housing. The criminal liar called Michael Tyrrell. So, Colin Cormack, Steve Hill, Mike Tyrrell conspired together. Whether they sat together is not relevant. Everything they did and everything that happened relating to their roles points to the conspiracy, the existence of a conspiracy. And the conspiracy was aided and abetted by Luthuraman, adding his lies and lying. And it was made even worse by Alibor Chaudhry, who added his lies and denials and fabrications. If any of these facts was made known or available to the Guardian, because all these things happened mainly while Alan Rabishar was in post as the chief editor or the group editor of the Guardian group, I doubt that the Guardian would publish this. So when the Guardian publishes the thing about Patricia Brooks pleading with Rochdale Council, not Rochdale Council, the other council, what's his name? Let's go to the item itself. Oldham Council. Rochdale is the location of the hearing of the coroner's court. A mother begged the council for help to move her family out of a privately rented house that was freezing and had chronic damp and mold, which she believes killed her son. an inquest was heard. Now, in the meeting held in November 2018 in the Canning Town, in the Barking Road in Canning Town in Newham, attended by the then visiting United Nations rapporteur on extreme poverty, let's check on that one factually. So, this is the heading online on the Independent website, that is independent.co.uk, and it is dated the 13th of November 2018. And the report is by May Bullman, Social Affairs Correspondent, Tuesday, the 13th of November 2018, at 13:59 hours UK time. And it says, mother describes being forced to drink her baby's milk as people living with poverty come forward to tell UN envoy their stories. Oh, I was in my slippers. It was so cold. I plucked up the courage to ask them, to say I am hungry. I have a baby. But they said, we can't give you anything. I had to drink my baby's milk. And there is a picture taken by May Bullman showing Newham Mayor Roxana Fiaz apologizing on behalf of the council with the microphone. And the picture on the left of the picture, to Roxana Fiaz's right, only shows the identifiable face of a local MP, but the others are sitting with their backs to the camera. The United Nations envoy is called Philip Alston. And it says, during a packed out meeting in Newham, East London, Philip Alston heard directly from migrant women, people with disabilities, and domestic abuse survivors who gave personal accounts of how welfare cuts had affected them. In one highly charged account, a West African mother with a baby strapped to her back explained through tears how she had to wait for 20 hours outside Newham Council Social Services after fleeing an abusive relationship during which she became so hungry She had to drink her child's milk. Other stories, including, I'll read that again. Other stories included a mentally unwell man who was fined for making a mistake on his universal credit application. Families with young children forced to live in flea infested houses, and a heavily pregnant woman having to sleep rough in a park. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty and Human Rights visited one of the poorest boroughs in the capital as part of his 2 week tour of Britain to investigate the impact of the rollout of universal credit, child poverty, and Brexit on people living there now. This is so wrong, this article, because it says that the purpose of Philip Alston's visit was universal credit, child poverty, and Brexit. It does not say, despite the headline, it does not say anything. It does not say a single thing about the depraved, corrupt, unfit for purpose individuals who are in employment as council employees in social services or benefit section at all. Now, this is also remarkable, especially as May Bullman stupidly refers to this. After hearing the witness statements, Newham's mayor, Roxana Fias, said, "Can I just apologize on behalf of myself as mayor of Newham and on behalf of the council that you, the alleged West African parent, mother, experienced that treatment at the hands of people that we employ. It shouldn't have happened." Now, that was on the 12th of November 2018. 2018 is the year. In May 2018, Luciana Fias was elected for the first time as mayor at the expense of Newham. So if she was elected in May 2018, June was the second month, July was the third month, August was the fourth month, September was the fifth month, October was the sixth month, November was the seventh month. So it could be said that in 7 months she had asked about and received enough information about the internal drawbacks, shortcomings, and criminality that dominated the Newham Council's operations. So when she allegedly made that apology on behalf of the Newham Council, she did not, she did not say anything about what she would make by way of changes so that that kind of behavior would not happen again. And that if anyone behaved like that again, they would be dealt with in the most severe way. And there is no trace. That was 2018, and Ruxana Fiaz is now in the second period after getting elected again on the 5th of May 2022 to the same post. So there is no evidence by either Mabulman or by anyone else on the time on the Independent, and of course nothing on the Guardian about the attitude of individuals like those social workers that refused to show the slightest bit of compassion, human sensitiveness, human solidarity to this woman who was forced to survive the night by milking, by drinking the essentially very important amount of milk that she had for her child. Now, if you look at the behavior of Taramras Council employees, typified by Colin Cormack, and the complicit behavior of Luthraman and Alibor Chaudhry, who was his main aide during that particular period. And if you look at Steve Hill and the complicit behavior with Steve Hill's criminality as displayed by Luthraman, and if you look at the behavior of Mike Tyrrell, the discredited Tower Hamlets community housing post holder for too long, you can see that there is no stage. There is no stage where the actual hardship, the denials, the losses, the damages being caused by unfit people, lying people, dishonest people in posts in councils. None of this has anything to do with a particular policy called universal credit or a particular sloganized package called child poverty. So there is nothing by way of follow up in the last how many years? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 6 calendar years since Roxana Fias got elected in May 2018. There has been nothing in the Independent about what has been done by Roxana Fias to stop the kind of behavior that the West African mother described at that meeting held in the Kennington gathering in front of Philip Alston, the United Nations so called special envoy. And in his report, Philip Alston was absolutely typically stupid. Alston not only not engaged with the behavior of the council employees, the day to day unfitness on the part of council employees, he also operated in denial of the inherent built in corruption that prevailed in councils like Newham. Instead, Philip Alston stupidly focused his attention on the Tory government. But contrary to the actual evidence, the Tory government's policies adversely affected only a very short number of people, a very short proportion of people. the overwhelming majority of the adverse effects of council behavior arose from the bad training, bad attitude, prejudice, and the brazen lack of accountability within councils in Newham, in Tower Hamlets, in Oldham, anywhere. So let's take this. When Alston was visiting the United Kingdom, apparently, the thieves and crooks and criminals were fleecing the people of Croydon. Elected councillors and their co-criminal chief executive Negrini, they were stealing under a variety of covers millions, hundreds of millions of pounds they were stealing. Now there is nothing in the universal credit or the so-called packaged child poverty slogan that could explain the tracing of the thefts and the practical impunity being allowed to these criminals, Negrini and others, in Croydon. And nothing in Philip Alston's stupid report about the UK even remotely mentions the possibility of such robbery and thefts. And there is nothing in the United Kingdom constitutional arrangement between UK central government departments and the local councils that can actually deal with the criminality of the type that Negrini and our thieves and crooks were allowed to indulge in for too long, too many years. Even when the accountant firm, Price Waterhouse Cooper, was appointed by then Community Secretary, that is the Department for Communities, that is supposedly responsible for the conduct and supervision of local councils. The Eric Pickles received a report from Price Waterhouse Cooper about Tower Council's financial irresponsibility, misconduct by Lutheraman. That report contained enough evidence for a forensic construction of at least 24 cases that could be taken to prosecution. Not one single prosecution has been taken. This is nothing to do with the petition, the election petition that was formally considered by Election Commissioner Richard Morey. This is to do with the Price Waterhouse Cooper report. So this was already on the record. The statement issued on the 4th of November 2014 in the House of Commons by Eric Pickles, based on his receipt of the findings by Price Waterhouse Cooper. That was already on the records when Philip Alston visited the United Kingdom in 2018. 4 years later. But reading Philip Alston's report, it would not be possible to see that he visited the same country. Because Alston was a complete liar, overhyped as a professor of law at the New York University. The shitbag was completely out of his fucking depths when it comes to examining the real evidence. And he repeated the same stupidity in relation to every country that he visited. When I contacted his office, funnily enough, his office had a woman called Bullman. Remember Bullman, the Mayor Bullman of the Independent? And I put to Alston dozens of questions. Alston did not answer. Not that he didn't know what I was asking. He knew very well what I was asking. But he didn't have the actual courage or the knowledge. So when the United Nations does this kind of thing, appoint absolute morons to be special envoys, what do they achieve for the people who are supposed to be liberated from their miseries by these envoys? If these envoys are so stupid, completely out of their depths, as Philip Alston was, one of the other meetings that I had with Luther Rahman was attended by Alibar Chaudhry and Colin the lying racist creep, Cormac. And Luther Rahman lied through his teeth at that meeting when Luther Rahman, said that this issue that was the subject of that meeting should be resolved by Colin Cormac, doing him, Luther Rahman, the incumbent mayor in post, a favor. How the fuck? So Luther Rahman was lying in front of me brazenly. The same person whom he had praised on the 20th September 2002 by saying the fittest person to represent the whole borough, the whole community was me. And here he was, the lying shitbag, insulting me and my intelligence. And Alibar Chaudhry at that meeting took Colin Cormac's side. When I tried to get the liar Cormac to explain one of the dozens of lies that he had perpetrated. So, wasn't it an act of absolute shameless gall for Alibar Chaudhry to volunteer to me in a chance meeting in Brickley a few months after Luthur and him were kicked out by the election commissioner Richard Morey. Alibar said to me that Colin Cormac never wanted to solve the problem. Alibar Chaudhry knew when he took Colin Cormac's side at that meeting that Alibar Chaudhry, was taking a side of a liar that he knew to be a liar. So we shall be continuing this essay into the next edition whenever that edition is possible to record and broadcast. This is now 1 hour 40 minutes long, and the time is 0008 hours GMT into Tuesday, the 8th of August 2023.